what's happening Facebook here at Indiana Wesleyan University on the west side of Indianapolis, getting ready to do law number 16, the law of Big Mo. So welcome, just waiting for Bess McCarty to join so that way we can get this thing kicked off. Hope you had a great weekend and we're gonna have a really good week here. Just sending out some invites real quick, and we are gonna get going. Bring them on the camera. It's hard when you sit farther away. Welcome, John. How are you? There she is.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
And here we all are. Hi, Jeff. Hi, John.
How are you? Turn this up here.
Hi, Joyce. Hey, everybody. Today, law number 16, the law of momentum, the big momentum. And hi, Tina. Hi, everybody. Oh, this is such a great topic today. And Jeff, what's going to happen today? You know, last show you were telling us such a hot story that, is it true that your phone burst into flames?
Yeah, basically. So Friday, I actually had it attached to my windshield, and the sun literally heated up my phone to the point where it had a warning cry. I've never seen a phone cry before. It had a warning cry, and it was like, and it's like temperature. It showed a temperature gauge that said your phone has overheated and shut off. Please cool it down immediately for, to make sure that there's no other damage. So pretty interesting.
I just love that story. I'm still learning from it. If y'all didn't hear it, last week's replay, just go to MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group, and you can see the replay from last Friday, law number 15, the law of catching on fire. Yeah, the law of catching on fire. That was, anyway, it's at the very end, like the last 5 minutes, and it's really, that's like one of my favorite stories I've ever heard, because it's about somebody who's faced, thank goodness for deadlines, faced with a heavy, tight deadline. And because of that, his creativity kicked in, and he found a way, to bust through those, break through the limits. So anyway, love that. Thank you for telling it. I'm glad your phone lived, and glad we're here today. And we don't know what's going to happen today, but I want to welcome everybody. We are Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network, a certified John Maxwell trainer, and Bess McCarty of the MLM Millionaire Club. So we love partnering to bring you these MLM lunchtime leadership shows to help people grow, to equip, empower, and educate entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. We really enjoy giving back to this profession and helping to raise the bar of professionalism. And I'm so glad you're here, Tina and Nancy. Put it in the freezer, cool it off quickly. Yeah, that is an idea. Yeah, the devices like to stay cool, don't they? Hey, if you're watching the replay, please type in replay so we can thank you, and we'd love to hear where you're from too. So I love if you type that in. We're going to have questions at the end, and also takeaways and comments, because we want to hear your wisdom too. So we'd love to hear that, and I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Okay, guys, so what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and get started, and it always starts out with the Maxwell philosophy, and that's the philosophy of how this works. So it says you can steer the ship that isn't moving forward, but it takes a leader to create forward momentum. So today's lesson, law number 16, is about momentum, or what they call Big Mo. Learning the laws of momentum. Momentum is a leader's best friend. So momentum is a great exaggerator. It allows basically, and my friend said this best, it allows people who maybe aren't that good to achieve enormous success inside of businesses. And you've seen this before. If you've ever been around a direct sales company and all of a sudden somebody stands up and says, I literally have no idea how this worked. But I was in the right place at the right time. These people got started, and then boom, I just recently met somebody like this that was at the basically beginning, the first 6 months of a company that was launching here in the United States. And they were like, I don't know. I mean, I just got in. I talked to a couple people, we recruited a couple people who recruited a couple people, and now there's over 1,000 people on my team. She's like, I literally don't know how it happened. She's like, none of us had experience, none of us had background, it went. So momentum makes the leader look better than they are. And I can tell you, you know, when we had momentum on the team, people would come up to me, you know, when I first was building and give me all these compliments, and I didn't know how to take it because I was like, this is not me. I worked really hard to get stuff going, and then all of a sudden momentum took over and it just took off. And if you've ever experienced momentum in a business, I can say it is your best friend in the whole world. It can make you look amazing when you're not. So this is something really to focus on. It says young leaders often get less credit than they deserve because they have little or no momentum making it happen. He said, but once a leader creates success and develops career momentum, then people give him more credit than sometimes he even deserves. And I can say I was the beneficiary of more credit than I actually deserved many times inside of direct sales, just because we hit things at the right place, the right time, and got them going in the right direction, which we want to talk about here in a second on how to do that. So living the law of momentum. One word that can help you enjoy the fruit of your labor to build momentum without letting it destroy you is gratitude. Just be super grateful. Be grateful the fact that you have people with you. I love Gary Vaynerchuk. He says, be grateful for the power of one. He's like, if you do a Facebook Live and you even have one person watching, we have quite a few, you know, we've had hundreds. I guess it's nearing thousands of views on this show. But it's the power of one. Be grateful for the first person. You know, don't badmouth success. Don't talk yourself out of your own blessing. Sometimes people like curse their own blessing by like, oh my gosh, I only had one person. Or, you know, I had a friend start out and he's like, I only have 800 views. And I'm like, that's about like 799 more than I had when I first started. So don't complain. Just be grateful for what you have. Even average people can perform better than they are when momentum happens. And I've seen this, you know, when you have momentum, somebody with less talent or maybe less skill than they really have, all of a sudden, because their belief level, and that's what momentum does more than anything, is it drives belief. It gives belief to a group of people that this can work for them. When you don't have that momentum and you're not seeing success and you're not seeing people make money and you're not seeing people hit those levels, it's hard to believe. But when you see all kinds of people, when you see somebody walk on stage and you're like, I don't even know how they found this meeting, let alone found that level in the business. I mean, I've seen some people like that. I have a good friend that says, you know a business is moving fast when you realize there's people making $100,000 that probably would have never even made $30,000 in their life, but they built a business at the right place at the right time, surrounded themselves with the right people, and then it took off. And that's really what Bess and I are really trying to create with this show and with the platform that we have. With the MLM Millionaire Club, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, we're trying to create an environment where, you know, you can believe that this is going to work because you see a lot of other people it working for. So the initial work is the hardest. The initial work to get this going is the hardest for the least of the results. So it's funny that people are like, well, I'm just waiting for the right person to create momentum. If you're waiting for that person, you wait for the rest of your life. Because what we found is leaders attract other leaders like themselves. They don't attract what they want, they attract who they are. So if you're not willing to create momentum, you will never find somebody on your team that's willing to create momentum. So it's really something that starts with you. Eric Worre talks about the 90-day run. And it can be a 30-day run. It could be a 5-week run for all that matters. You know, I've been involved where it's been 5 weeks of hard work, and then all of a sudden it takes off and, you know, it's unstoppable. The company that I first hit in, I can tell you there was a 71, I can't remember 71 or 72 days. I have to look back at my notes, but that was the run to make momentum. That was the all-out push. Eric talks about a plane taking off. And when a plane takes off, it doesn't go at 40%. It doesn't go at 60%. It doesn't go at 80%. It doesn't even go at 90%. It's 100% effort to get that plane off the ground. And then you can pull back. He said, if you only go to 90, 95%, you will get all the way to the end of the runway and the trees very quickly. you won't be able to take off. So if you want to take off in direct sales, one of the things it takes is you might sit for years learning, you might sit for years hearing, and then eventually you'll hear what you need to hear to take off. And that's just, you know, that's network marketing 101, direct sales 101. We're talking about here building an MLM business, what it takes to take off. So that's what it takes. Know it, understand it, protect every bit of momentum that you can build. So one of my mentors used to talk about building momentum, increasing momentum, and maintaining momentum. And to get it going is the hardest. If you want to speed it up, you have to speed it up first to be able to get it going. You are the catalyst to making this work. Where does that start with? It really starts with a goal of what you're going to do in 90 days, maybe 120, but a 90-day run of all-out momentum is you've made a list big enough where you could not contact everybody. You've made a list big enough where you can't contact everybody. You have exact script of what you're going to say to everybody. You know that you're building into a big event that's coming up. You just have basically the groundwork, the framework to create this momentum inside your business. And I want to give a great story to a good friend of mine, and I'm not going to give any names here because it will give away because certain people know this. But I had a conversation several years ago with a couple, and they were basically at a point where they were quitting the business. They were actually looking and interviewing other companies, and they were making the decision to leave. And I was like, well, why are you going somewhere else? And they gave me all the reasons. And I mean, they were all good reasons. And I said, look, if that's what you need to do, that's fine. I said, but can I ask you some questions first? By the way, if I ever ask that question, it means probably that I'm going to challenge you on something. I said, can I ask you some questions? Yeah. I said, why did you come here? You know, and I established their why, and I was like, well, you know, what you want out of this business, you're going to find the same thing in this business you're going to find in other businesses. I said, but what I'm finding is, or what I'm hearing is you changed your approach, which changed your result. You changed your approach. And they're like, what do you mean? And we started talking about their approach and how they had shifted from, you know, a massive amount of one-on-ones to shifting to a party atmosphere. And they weren't taking people through the 5 steps. They were trying to just go from here, step 1 to step 5. They were trying to shortcut the system. And I'm like, is that what worked in the beginning? And I went back and I tracked it, and they're like, oh yeah, we always did this. And I was like, well, that's funny because it didn't exist until 6 weeks ago. So how are you doing something before it existed? And they're like, oh, I never thought of that. So sometimes I'm just able to read between the lines and look at the logic. I was like, you couldn't have done that. It didn't exist yet. That wasn't the, and they're like, you're right, we weren't doing that. I said, were you even physically meeting with people? They're like, no, we were talking to them on the phone. I said, what were you saying? And we wrote down what they were saying. And I said, what if we start over from right here? You know, you're somewhere around, at that time they had about, watch this, 60 qualifying people who were still ordering on their team. And they needed, their next goal was 250. That was the next level that they were going to hit because they had already hit 100. The next goal was 250. And I was like, when do you guys think you want to do that? And they were like, well, we want to do it by the end of the year. Now, I was talking to them in like February. And I was like, I'll be real honest. I said, can I tell you the truth? They said, yeah. I said, if you don't make a goal, if you don't set a goal to do this in the next 30 days, your business is over. I said, because what you did is you crushed belief. Nobody's going to believe this will work if it takes you a year to get to 250 because you got to 100 within 6 months. So now it's going to take you over twice as long. You killed momentum. I said, you need to start right now. And I said, you're going to have to trust me on this, that if you start right now, and we basically boiled it down, that they were going to need to do somewhere between 8 and 12 presentations a day, one-on-one. 10-minute presentations you need to take off right now. And I was like, you know, can you commit to me that this is what we're going to do? I'll help you do it. I'll come up and speak again, whatever you need. And this couple said, yeah, okay, you know, I kind of get it. I don't believe it, but I think what they believed was that I knew what I was talking about because I had created it before. So this couple basically sat down, wrote out the plan, and they got started. And the first week, I mean, it wasn't amazing. They did recruit some new people. They had 5, 6, 7 new recruits the very first week it took off. But because they took off so fast, what happened is everybody sat back with their arms crossed and their legs crossed and their eyes crossed. And, you know, if they could cross anything else, they crossed it. And they were like, well, we'll just watch this couple to see what happens. By week 2, they had doubled. They had doubled basically what they did in week 1. They had gotten to like almost 20 people brand new on the team. people started seeing it, and they got all the way to week 4. And in week 4, they missed 250 people. They missed it. In week 5, they got to 256. In week 5, they hit 256. So they missed their goal and end up hitting. But what was really interesting was not necessarily them, but it was the momentum that followed. When they broke a couple people who hit 100, when they broke a bunch of people who hit 25, it was the newest people on the team that was amazing. How many people started crossing stage? That momentum took them all the way up to about 300 people. It was like 290 something people in a room about 12 months later. And it was all because of a 30-day window in their business. And what I can say is if you're willing to give up, to go up, that's just what it takes. You will hit a certain point in your business where you're like, that's it. I'm done messing around. I'm crossing, you draw the line. They always say draw the line in the sand, which I think is interesting because that always goes away. Draw the line in the concrete. I mean, like the couple that I had that took permanent markers and drew their goals on the wall. They were like, we're moving out of this house. We're moving out of this lifestyle. We're moving out of this crap that we're dealing with, and we're going to make this happen right now. They wrote it in permanent marker on the wall. Now, I'm not saying or suggesting that, especially if you're at work. Because if you're at work and you start writing on the wall, that I'm out of here in permanent marker, they might actually try to lock you up, which isn't the goal, because it's very hard to build from inside a 8x8 cell. But momentum is actually easier to steer than it is to start. Once you get it going, it's very easy to direct it, but it's getting it going that's the problem. If you want, we can do a special training on just getting it going, that momentum. I've had both the privilege and done this 3 separate times in my business where I've gone from 0 to basically 100% effort for a 30 to 90 day period of time. That's where I've been able to recruit 20 people in 30 days or 40 people in 6 weeks. And that momentum just carries on and on and on and on. Number 5, momentum is powerful change agent. It will change the environment. It will change people's belief. It'll change basically people's thought process on how it works and how fast it works. It is imperative that we understand how to best help our clients initiate that change. If you don't understand how to do this, you want to be around people who can get it going and make it happen. So when we're winning, nothing hurts. When we're winning, nothing hurts. Guys, when you have momentum, you won't even hear the no's. When you have momentum, you won't even hear the excuses. When people are like, is that a pyramid? Is that one of those things? And I'm like, pyramid, like Giza? Like, is that what you mean? Like Egypt? Like, what are you trying to tell me? People are like, no, you know what I mean. Like one of those things. I said, actually, I don't. I don't hang around anybody who makes less than $100,000. So please explain this to me. It's funny, put them on the spot. I said, please explain it to me. Here's a pen, here's a piece of paper. Please explain this to me because I don't get it. Have them try to draw out what the heck they're talking about. A lot of times people have stuff put in their head and just, I challenge them. You want to be very sure what you're doing and who you're talking to when you do that. But when you have momentum, you can do that. And people just kind of just like, you know what, I'll just believe you on this one. I don't have anything else to say. Sometimes people do stuff like that to see if you flinch. Take out a pen and a piece of paper and put it in front of them and see what happens. Momentum is a leader's responsibility. So if you're like, I want to be a leader, then the responsibility to create momentum is yours. The responsibility to get it going is yours. The responsibility to set up that is yours. That was really hard for me to take because I was always looking for somebody else to do something. I was looking for somebody else to have that call. I was looking for somebody else to have that speech. I was looking for somebody else to recommend the book or the show that I should be on. That was going to create momentum for my team. I thought somebody else was supposed to come on my team and create momentum for me. And what I realized is it was my responsibility. It takes a leader to create the momentum. It doesn't just happen. So if you can't make the heat, get out of the kitchen. But if you can't take the heat, you'll probably get out of the kitchen too. It's going to take some adversity, guys. You're going against the grain when you do this. A friend of mine said it best. When you decide to make a run inside of network marketing, for all of life, you've been traveling downhill in a rowboat, and now all of a sudden you're basically going to try to go against the current quickly. It takes a massive amount of energy. Try to run up an escalator backwards. Let me preface that with, imagine running up an escalator backwards. Don't actually try to do this. I don't want to hear about the accidents that are going to happen in the mall later today when people actually try that. Don't try to do it, but just imagine doing it. If you've ever done it as a kid, it was fun to do. But it's very difficult to overcome the momentum coming the other way. And most of us have been traveling downhill for so long, going uphill quickly is tough. And that's why John Maxwell says anything worthwhile in life is usually uphill. That's why momentum seems like it takes so much. But once you get it going, man, you just get pushed up the hill, but you got to run first. Momentum begins inside the leader. It really begins with a thought or a belief or a want to get it going. So leading others to the law of momentum, it's a mindset and it's an awareness. First of all, you have to have the mindset of taking off fast, but then you have to have the awareness of what's going on, where people are at. I had the awareness to walk into a room in an event where I looked around at the people that were working in this one particular market, and I said, look, people are counting on you guys. I can see it. I can see it in the room when you get up and speak. I can see it in the after events. They're counting on you guys to make this run. Nobody else in this market can do it. So it takes an awareness to be able to, see that. Two, it takes the environment. You have to get the environment right. You have to get the negativity out. The people who want to sit around and talk about how bad things are and this political thing and that, marketplace and blah, 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 blah. You have to be smart enough to be like, that's not the conversation for right here, right now. Every day you have to be prepared going in. If you were, they say if you're going to war, you want to count the bullets the day before, not, during. You got to know the material you need. You're going to have to know, you're going to have to be dressed for success. You're going to have your clothes laid out. I mean, when you're planning to make a run, you got to be ready. So with that, you can be an overnight success in 20 years of hard work. That was John's version. You see some people and it just seems like they, are able to walk on water. It seems so easy for them to succeed. Certain people run at that pace more often. And here's the thing, if running at 100 miles an hour is what it takes to get something going, if your life is already at 70%, then it's easier to get to 100. What some people do is they try to run their life at 10% and then they try to jump all the way to 100 and it looks like they're dying. And that's why we say you only want to make that run for anywhere between 30 to 90 days because it's not a sustainable pace long-term. It's just a get it going. You get it going, you take basically assessment of what's going on for 30 days, 90 days again, and then you make another run. I think Eric Worre, made the connection that when he talked to big leaders to get to six figures, they usually made 1 to 2 90-day runs back to back. The massive leaders usually did it about a handful of times, about 5 to 6 times to get to the $500,000 to $1 million range income wise. And the guys I've talked to, that's exactly what it took. My mentors who showed, me what to do, I saw them make some of the runs where they went from a quarter to a half or a half to $1 million. And then there's some guys out there who basically are able to sustain it long term. You have the guys that have done 10, 20, and 50 in a lifetime. And those are guys who consistently, are able to run between that 80 to 100 mile an hour pace. I'm not saying that's, okay for everybody, but anybody can make a run for a short amount of time. So with this, I'm actually at a networking event, so I apologize for going fast. I have to get back here. I have about 10 minutes, so I want to turn this over to Bess for any remaining time, answer anybody's questions so we can get back on track with what we're doing today. Bess, can you give us some insight on the law of momentum?
Okay, great. Thank you, Jeff, for all that. And thank you all, everybody, for the likes and loves. If you've gotten value so far, we'd love if you shared and so we could help other people too. I do have a question at the end from someone who left a message on the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group. And wanted to share just a couple quick stories. I love that you talked about momentum being something bigger than you, carrying you along. Oh, this isn't me. It's something, greater that has started. It makes life so much easier when we are going with the wind. That speed carry us through the obstacles. Like Jeff said, there is no pain. It's just beautiful. It's very, very exciting. And if you've ever been in a plane, after Eric Worre described, getting your plane off the ground, next time I flew, it was like we were taxiing around for a while and You know, that was fun and nice, and scenery's nice, a little, you know, calm and non-eventful. But then when we started taxiing fast, when we started going fast and you could feel that plane taking off, I just experienced that, man, I trust this momentum. I trust that this is going to get us safely into the air. And there were just something about it that got my, I felt safe within it. I felt confident within it. I felt strong within that momentum, lifting me off the ground and going. So that is what we want to achieve in our business. Just like, and it's so much easier, like when you're driving and you go with the wind, you know, you get better mileage, it's easier and it takes less effort and everything. One time I made a joke, you know, I was going against the wind, you know, driving to the next town here in rural Kansas. And I was just joking with somebody when I got there. I said, man, there was so much resistance there that I was actually going backward, you know. And sometimes it can feel like that. So going with the wind, and it's easier to steer than to start. It's harder to start. You might have seen that Facebook dance where this lone guy is getting up and he's dancing all by himself, you know, but thank goodness one person, like Jeff said, thank you for the one that joined him, you know. And then after 2 and then 4 and then 8, and then after a while, so many people just came flocking to him, because in the beginning it was scarier to join just the few, because you'd be outside of the you know, the group, the tribe's approval. But then after so many joined, it was scarier not to join. It was scarier not to be part of that. So that's why that people are attracted to the momentum. They want to be part of a change if they see the momentum and if they see success. So when you generate momentum and you go fast, you attract people. And that's why I love helping people through challenges like Jeff was describing, or what Eric Worre describes as 30, 60, or 90-day challenges. And he said that all top earners have done at least, you know, a few. And I asked Eric one time, I said, do you know any MLM millionaires who have not done one? And he said, I don't know any. So that can give a clue, you know, what kind of success you want to have. And it's thrilling when you're in one, because you do feel that momentum of that airplane. And the way that I've helped people has been so much fun. I know a couple of people come and their goal was to jump a rank and they jumped 2, and that is why I get up in the morning. I just love helping people to do that. So it's if there's huge resistance, start small and build gradual momentum over time until you reach that tipping point, like that guy dancing in the video. And Jeff, I'll turn it back to you, and hopefully we'll have time for John Stokes' question in a minute, in a few.
Guys, I have nothing else on this. You know, I would just say when you're ready to make that run, you know, make sure you have an accountability partner and it all laid out. You know, look at the calendar, what makes sense. You know, does it make sense to make a run like that in December? No, but that was the first time that I did it. I did it November, December. That was my first run inside of direct sales, which is typically the worst time to do it. It just happened that I needed to make that run right then, and thank goodness I did, because that was my first big hit inside of direct sales in 71 days. We went kind of from zero to hero, recruiting over 100 people onto our team in 71 days. That basically catapulted the team, you know, into the thousands. When I look back on it, I taught that to some other people who were able to do that on the team. So it's not necessarily the right time, but you know, timing is different for everybody. So make sure your timing's right. Sit down, look at the calendar, what's coming up, what's going on, and then also, you know, make sure you have the right accountability partner the whole time to check in with and be like, this is what's happening. Because here's the thing, it won't look like it's happening in the beginning. It won't look like it's happening. Yeah. We talked about that yesterday with the Chinese bamboo tree. It doesn't look like those roots are being grown, but it's happening. So with that, what questions do we have? And if you have any questions, please write them down in the messenger and we'll get to those.
Yes, and I just want to say a quick hi to not let anybody out. Julie, Denise, Roxanne, Donald, Lynn, Paul, Marty, Fernando, Paul, Suzanne, Thank you all for being here. And yeah, having an accountability partner, that's why I talked with a 96-figure earner at one of Eric's events who just did a 90-day challenge. I said, could you have done better if you had a coach? He goes, absolutely, absolutely. So you will face discouragement because you're upping the ante, you're going faster. So you're going to encounter incredible joys and discouragements, both. Life is going to be magnified for you. So John's question is, he's with a company that has an incredible product that he loves. And this is kind of an age-old question, but he said, I'm thinking about casting a retail net, getting as many retails and commercial accounts for the product as I can, because he used to be a B2B phone salesman. And then sharing the business after, the business opportunity afterward, you know, after they're in love with the product and they could use some extra income. So I have a thought about this, but I'd like to hear Jeff's.
I mean, my thing is, you know, do you know anybody who's ever done that? You know, that's what I always ask. I mean, it can always be done, but is there anybody who's ever done it? Is there anybody who's done it in that company? That's who you want to go looking for. If you find overwhelmingly that it's never been done, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not the right thing to do. But does, in the end, I would say, does that accomplish what you want? Because most of the time when you set up an enormous amount of retail accounts, guess who becomes customer service? You do. And if you become customer service, what people don't tend to think about is, as you acquire more accounts, you become more customer service and less being able to go get accounts. So it might look good on paper on the numbers, but you have to understand the management side of it. Will it work? I don't know, because I don't know, you know, your particular product company, whatever, how it's done. But typically when you're creating customers, if you're creating customers, they're looking at you, not the company. You can tell them all day long that the company's going to handle everything, but when they have a problem, they're going to call you. So you have to kind of look into that and see if that's right. Bess? What are your thoughts on that?
It's such an age-old question. Do I lead with the product or the business? And I've seen advantages to both. I tend to lean toward leading with the business because I like helping people that are in trouble and need a solution to that, and then they fall in love with the product. Eric Worre actually did a survey on that, and he said, you know, it's 50-50. He said people have just as much success when they lead with the product and then fall in love with the business opportunity, and vice versa. So he really says either way can work. But I love Jeff's tip to look into your particular company and see what has worked best. Ask your upline company what has worked best for your company and for your product. I know some successfully that have led with the product, and they seem to be slower on the retail end. But I also know people that have led with the product and they do great on the great on the business opportunity end, I meant. So I think try it out. But yeah, I hope this helps, John, or that you can leave a message back in the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group about this and see what you come up with about this. If you're not a member there, you can go there to request to be a member. We'd love to have you, or you can watch these shows, the replays, and get a free book and get community support there. So Jeff, you got to run, right?
Yep, got to get back. So if anybody has anything else, please write that as a message inside of the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. We love your likes, your comments, your shares. If you know somebody who needs to see this, please send them a link to the video. Tomorrow, we're going over law number 17, the law of priorities. Being able to prioritize what you're doing. And again, we're going to, share that from what you need to prioritize inside your business to get it going. So appreciate everybody for being on. Bess, thank you so much for, doing this with me. And we'll talk to everybody tomorrow.
See you then.
See you guys.